good morning. So, well, I would like to address very shortly the issue of energy. We'll speak about the energy now with relation to the Neros, to the robots. Now, I should say that not long ago I recorded a pretty lengthy series that I called titled Utility Saga Neros 101 or something like that. Utility Saga Neros, Utility Scale Neros, and um, of course, I don't really know how many people watch or listen to these videos because most of it is done, under the radar without like statistics, like YouTube formal statistics. But there is some kind of statistics that are gathered by YouTube, and I see that this kind of this series. Even though it's it's not new, now. It's still kind of getting some traction. I don't know if it's any indication of like its actual popularity, but I would assume that it's. I understand that people. People care about energy. It's an issue. Of course it is. Always have been, and more than ever now. So, and I also understand that some people are kind of are excited, but my even if it's like kind of just like a kind of something that just more like a hint that they throw like just the thread that I kind of put on the table of like using the Neros as part of like like as in order to revamp the traditional power block in the AC power plants. So this is like a very interesting issue. I think many people are interested in that, and this is natural. And also, but there is something that I haven't said in this, and this not explicitly in this series. Even though again it's quite a lengthy series, the utility scale Neros. And so I thought to myself, maybe I'll say it now. To be very clear on this, on this issue of the Neros and energy. So first, I'll say the following. First, I'll repeat something that I've said a long time ago, maybe 9 or 8 months ago. Maybe and I haven't discussed it yet. So I'll say it now. Okay. I don't know much about physics, and this is lamentable. I've studied it on a very basic level, but not even in bachelor studies. What can you do? You cannot study everything, and if there is one thing among the many things many areas of human knowledge that I would have wanted to know more is certainly this is physics, and within physics everything that related to electricity. And I can still study it. I'm not dead yet, but it's not that easy. Certainly when you are under arrest and so many things are on my mind, and I'm always occupied with a lot of stuff. But yes, I would have wanted to know physics better, and specifically everything related to electricity. Though I have some knowledge, and I am even the very basic knowledge that I have is very helpful for me. I cannot really speak about physics in any way that will be kind of everything that I'll say will be presumptuous. But what I can do is run experiments and show you results. And if the results are interesting, and they are interesting, it means that I do I work it is a correct pace. This is very true regarding the electrolysis. Like all the things that I've done with electrolysis, they might look more like witchcraft or alchemy than actual R&D, because they are based on many assumptions that are border on the magic, but they're not entirely so. Much of it does. At least try to be founded on principles of on physics, and I speak about quite a bit. about conductivity and and resistance and superconductors and things like that. That I mean, and so I mean, and the results were increasingly impressive. So I mean, that's the best that I can do. But I cannot, of course. I cannot challenge current physics. I mean, in any theoretical way, just by the only way to do it is the practical way, just to show you things that I know for certain you cannot explain using, your own models of the universe, or in other words, your physics are inadequate to explain things that I show you, and I know it for certain. I'm knowledgeable. I have enough knowledge to know that what I show you is you cannot explain it. This I do. This kind of knowledge I do possess. I also said it, in the past, and this is, I'm going to reiterate now, and it might be something that it will be difficult, for you to digest because it's quite philosophical. But I think it's important to say it, because it's related to the issue of energy. I've said it maybe 8 months ago, so let me repeat myself. And I know it's going to be kind of difficult to understand it, but anyway, I think it should be said. The existence of the Neros might challenge the concept of energy. You need to remember that the concept of energy was not always part of physics. Newton didn't know what is energy. Yes, maybe the word existed, but the word energy, it's got many connotations. Of course, it's the terminology, the etymology is ancient, but do you really care, what it meant like 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago? No, and it means all sorts of things now. People speak about energy drinks, and what they really mean is that, I don't know, basically just sugar and caffeine. Yes, what does it even mean in an energy drink? So, energy is a metaphor many times, but the way that it's used in the realm of physics is actually not that trivial to grasp as many people think. And again, it wasn't part of physics even up to the times of Newton, including. It's true, Newton spoke about momentum, which is, in a way, kind of precursor to the concept of energy, even though energy did not replace it. Both concepts, are part of physics, of mechanics. Classical mechanics. Energy and momentum, but momentum is not energy. Just to say, you can achieve all, the remarkable achievements, of Newton himself, Isaac Newton, which includes, explanation, of the movement of celestial bodies, and explanations of so many things on Earth, and still don't even use the word energy at all. The concept of energy was cemented into physics shortly after Newton, and it is strongly related to the concept of preservation of energy, to the law of preservation of energy. You cannot speak of one without the other. The energy doesn't matter anything at all without the law of preservation of energy, and of course the law of preservation of energy, meaningless without the concept of energy. So they go together. There is no even a hypothetical universe where you can speak about energy, but there is no law of preservation of energy. If the law of preservation of energy does not hold, then you don't have any valid concept of energy. They go together. It's not that that energy, people always knew about energy, but then sometime some clever guy thought to himself, no, you know what energy is, that you know of, it's always preserved, it just transforms forms. No, it's not like that. Actually, there are other preservation laws that that are like that. The thing that it preserved was known to humans since long ago, and at some point people thought, okay, but this thing is actually preserved. But this is not true to energy. To energy, the concept itself, is directly, related to the preservation of it. Now, hypothetically it's possible to model the universe without the need to speak about energy and preservation of energy, and it was done so, I mean, including by Newton himself. So it is hypothetically possible that in the future humans will have different concept of energy. And I know it's kind of like mind-boggling now, but it is possibility. And it's possible that in order to understand, I mean, the role of the Neros, these robots in the universe and what they do, you need to conceptualize the world without even like the concept of energy. And the implications, I mean, or like on theoretical physics can be amazing, and I cannot even like, I mean, you know, start to think how such a thing would be possible, but I'm certain that it's a possibility, or at least a hypothetical possibility. Now we can say, okay, all this is very interesting, but I mean, you know, we just, you know, we want like we want like, you know, that our cars will be moving from A to B, like, and we want to the iPhone will keep like, you know, showing us you know, videos like of like I don't know, good-looking women and cats and cakes and whatever people. I mean, I don't know, recipes for, I don't know, like energy drinks. I mean, so I mean, we don't care about you speaking about energy preservation, Newton. I mean, we just want the machines to keep like, you know, doing their stuff because we depend on these machines. So I mean, can you like help us, like, I mean, you know, keep these kind of things like shining and moving and, you know, doing their stuff? If you don't want to call it energy, I mean, call it whatever you want, but I mean, just, I mean, keep the machines moving for us, please. So I would say the following with this regard. My intuition from the get-go was that the Neros are not, that it is completely it's very wrong to think about the Neros, but the robots as energy source per se. And I understood that people in Israel do it even without understanding what the Neros are. But I mean, they use the T is the Neros, and they do it, and it's a great mistake. And later I understood that it's a great mistake that is done by the Titans, that they think of it as their juice, like, I mean, it's the kind of like their fuel, which is a great mistake. It's just a great mistake. But this is covered in the Neros utility scale saga, so please just watch these videos. I don't feel the need to repeat myself. Just watch those videos. It's a great mistake to think about it along this line. I mean, it's a terrible mistake. And I also understood that at some point people discovered how to manufacture radioactive isotopes from this material. And but unfortunately people didn't understand, like, I mean, that it's not the same thing. Like, I mean, they even eat, and certainly they sell a mixture of the two together, of radioactive isotopes and the Neros, and they think that it's the same thing, but it's completely different. It's like saying that, I mean, the machine that manufactured the iPhone is the same as the iPhone. No, it's not the same. It's not the same thing. But again, this is covered in the saga. The purpose of this video is not to repeat myself, but to be more to elaborate on very specific issues. So, just a reminder. From my perspective, it was obvious that they are not energy source, because I understood very quickly that they can create life forms, synthetic life forms, and it was evident for me that they do it tremendously more efficiently, quickly, reliably, and in a repeatable way when I use electrolysis, which means when I give them electrical energy. Now you can say, maybe it's not electrical energy, maybe they need hydrogen, maybe what you've given them is just hydrogen. But I mean, maybe they just need hydrogen, and and they don't have hydrogen, so they can't create the life form, so they can create it very slowly. But I mean, you've done electrolysis, so now it's like H2O, and great. But no, first of all, the breakthrough that I had with creating worms. I remind you, this is documented, was done not in the electrolysis chamber, but in a glass that contained solid material. So there was no electrolysis in that even. This was a very early experiment. I only later switched to more of like a traditional electrolysis because it allowed much more conductivity and much quicker results. But we've created worms that were living, and this was documented in a plastic, like a plastic container, small plastic container that is mostly mostly was beeswax in there, in other materials as well, but also sugar and polydiene. At the time, I saw that it's actually very beneficial. Like during this time, the first couple of months or 2 months or so, I've always thought that the containers that I use for the Nero experiment should be, devoid of life forms. So I always use like a hefty amount of polydiene and alcohol and hydrogen peroxide. And I was very like kind of to avoid, because I thought that it might be very detrimental, like all sort of like a bacteria that that at best the best case is that you just detect the effort of a Nero that will kill them presumably, as kind of like as a default like behavior instead of doing whatever I want for them. And at worst, they might kill the Neros. But with time, I understood that all this kind of like that actually it's not that the existence of bacteria in the various containers is actually not it's actually fine for the Neros. They actually like it. They eat them and they do play with them. It's not like in itself is not like. The Nero experiment does not necessarily, it's not like, usual biological experiment that necessarily should be done like in a sterile environment. Not at all. They actually, the only problem is that, when things are not controlled, it's difficult like, to know, because, when you not control things, later, you won't know. Maybe, this, that kind of experiment was successful because of, presumably, a special kind of like Earth bacteria that, was there, in your room for some reason, and, and that for some reason, symbolic purpose, or I don't know what, it caused like the unlikely, but presumably yes. So for if you want like very rigorous result, yes, you need to be keep it sterile. But just for the success of the but they don't have problem with the bacteria. And they treat it as food, like the Neros, as a favorite food source. But at the time, everything was very sterile. So it was hefty amount of polydiene and sugar, but mostly beeswax. And it was very sturdy, almost like rock solid. And the two rods were placed on the two, like put inside it, like a potato battery. And after a week or so, we've seen worms. And I remember it was quite funny. I remember that, I spoke about it. I was very great excitement that, that you see worms inside the beeswax that are certainly not earthworms. I understand it as alien worms. And I remember, like, it was like an hour that I recorded the video, just like that, but more than an hour that, I spoke about it very enthusiastically. It's in this channel, like maybe February, March, and I spoke about it. I'm certain that these are not, like, that these are real worms, like moving worms, like living worms that are not like just sculptures, but I don't know how to wake them up. And I thought that, now the next step is like in Frankenstein movie that, you need to kind of like, to do something to the monster in order for it to wake up. Because I thought it's like kind of like a golem that requires like an extra step in order for it to be moving. And it was like more than an hour that, I just spoke, and the glass was in front of me. And I spoke about all sorts of like ways that they, that they divide all sorts of ways, like how maybe it's possible to wake them up. Maybe using heat, maybe using electricity. And like after about an hour that I spoke, like just like that, I spoke to the iPhone, like and of course I uploaded it later. After about an hour, I started to see them moving. So okay, okay. So job done. It was quite funny. Like just spoke, and about like all sorts of like theoretical ways of how to wake them up, and just after an hour they just woke up and started to move. And all of that document, all of it is in this channel. It's not, it's in this channel. So this was not even electrolysis. It was just, and moreover, another thing that was evident to me that, if the hydrogen theory was true, so presumably when you stop electrolysis, it should like immediately, stop like, the creation of the life forms. Because hydrogen is presumably, it was already, assembled by the, maybe it was already assembled, by the Neros. But I mean, it was evident and documented many times that I mean, you see the worms in the glass, like I mean, created in the electrolysis chamber glass. You see them, and you see them; they are kind of like white while they are created, and while they are done, like while they are alive, which happens about like after 90 minutes to 180 minutes, you see them like in color, like I mean, and they are moving and they are like viable, like I mean, you can get it out of you can put it like in another like container, and then it's kind of like another issue of like how to treat the living worms, which is a completely different science. But let's put it aside. Like with the issue of how to create life forms, so there is like a phase in their life that they are kind of like white gooey creatures that have been created, but they are not alive. And if you stop electrolysis, they quickly die, and after about an hour, they start to decompose into kind of like I mean, white goo, and after like 5 hours, it's just I mean white goo floating in the liquid. And this was repeated several times, so I know what I say now. I'm very confident in it because I repeated it many times. It was the glasses experiments. It was done in my mother's apartment, like in the first stage of this house arrest, in like between February and April, and it was repeated several times. So I mean, and with very repeatable results. So I'm very confident that it's true what I tell you now. And this is another kind of like I mean proof that it's not the hydrogen, because I mean the hydrogen was already there. I mean they don't need like more. I mean it's not, so it's energy. It's just energy. It's not and you know it's just energy. They need the energy, and they work much better with energy. And of course they don't have to get electricity. We had tremendous amount of like things that we created like in the microscopic scale, not in the big scale. Also in the big scale, but it took much longer and not in reliable fashion. We all created stuff that I mean in the macroscopic scale, not in microscopic scale, like if you remember from March or April, the red sculptures that are incredibly interesting, that are not microscopic. I call it megastructures or gigastructures, like these things, but this size, that were created by the Neros, and by extremely interesting stuff. Unfortunately, it's not with me. Maybe it's in my mother's apartment. Maybe it's lost. And it was created without electricity at all. But it took, on the course of like something like 3 weeks, and in a very unreliable way. Like I mean, at the time I had many mixtures like that, like with dozens, and others did not produce any result at all. So I mean, it's like you need luck, and you need like and with the electricity, you can. I mean, it was evident for me that you can have repeatable results. So, and you don't need luck. You just need to know. I mean, what's basically you need to have control of to have some knowledge of the symbolic language, because I understand that they, whatever they do, I mean they expect, I mean they have their own agenda. But if you want like I mean to control what they do, me, I don't, not you, but me, I need to give them symbols, and that is the whole issue of the symbolic language, which is a huge part of what I do. Like everything that you see is part of this, like in the art. And many, like more than 100 other, 150 like other canvases, it's all part of the symbolic language. And many sculptures, so it's a huge thing. And also the apparatuses, like electric apparatuses, and things made of clay, made of cardboard, it's all part of the symbolic language. And I speak about it a lot in this channel. So you need to know the symbolic language, but I mean, if you want them to work like in an efficient way, in a replicable and repeatable and dependable way, you need to give them electricity. Later, it was proven that they also use heat energy in the various crucible experiments that was done in this apartment, and we created all sorts of the demons, the demonic life forms, with using the crucible without electricity, and sometimes with alternating electricity and firing. That was the way that I mean the Full Metal Jacket was created, with alternating the same I mean crucible was used. I mean not together, because I mean it's first of all practically it's very difficult to do it, and also I mean it doesn't make sense, because I mean all this heat I mean is reducing the conductivity, and I mean when you use electrolysis, we want to take advantage of the superconducting properties. So it's kind of stupid to do it together. But in alternative fashions, like of firing the crucible, letting rest, then electrolysis chamber, like electrolysis session. That's how the wasp, the metastatic wasp, was created. Anyway, all of that quickly I understood that if they work so better with electrolysis, it means that they are not energy sources. Because, I mean, what kind of energy sources, I mean, require another energy source? It doesn't make sense. Now, I did understand that they have a way to transfer energy between them, and this is a huge subject in this channel. And as I said, it's not yet proven, like, I mean, in a rigorous way. I think that it was proven, it can be deduced by the many experiments and the evidence, but I admit I did not, like, yet devise kind of, like, I mean, I wasn't able to show it to you, like, in a very kind of, like, I mean, strict way, like, the energy transfer theory. And it might require more, like, thought, like, I mean, and maybe more like, you know, material things like assets, like money. I mean, you know, tangible stuff that I would need in order to prove it. But and certainly more thought. But I mean, yes, it was a major kind of a tenet of my thought since the beginning. And again, even much before I understood that they are actually the Venusian portals that I knew existed, but I didn't know that it's the same thing. I mean, it took me a lot of time. I only started to think along those lines when I actually when I actually was able to grow the Neros to a huge size, and I was actually able to see, watch under the microscope, that these are portals. Like I've shown you, like yesterday, I mean, you know, was it 2 days ago, like in the microscopic examinations. So only when I actually seen, like, the portal in front of me, like under the microscope, I see, okay, this is a portal. I mean, I understood that the Neros are the portals that are used to go to Venus. Probably, but I mean, this is not like, I'm not even certain about it because I've never seen a portal in my life. I only deduced, like, everything that I know about the portals is through deduction. Not, I've never seen any portal, like, in my life. Like, I mean, of those that you use to do Venus. I mean, not of the, I mean, I have millions of portals, you know, in the containers. Anyway, long before the idea that they can transfer mass, I thought about them as energy transfer mechanism. This is discussed a lot in this channel, but energy transfer is not like energy. It's not energy source. I mean, it's one thing to transfer energy and to be a source of energy. It's not the same thing. Now, presumably, you can say maybe they are, but if they can transfer, all of them can transfer, I mean, from, like, you know, one to each other. Maybe they are all connected to some kind of, like, you know, to some kind of, you know, a primordial, you know, Nero, like that maybe created, you know, in the beginning of time, and that it has access to tremendous source of energy. So, I mean, in that case, I mean, presumably they can be sort of as energy source because they can transfer energy from the kind of, like, I mean, the primordial grandfather. I mean, you know, like, I mean, 10E48 grandfather, you know. This is interesting, and I would say that first of all, it's not true, but it is somewhat true to myself. I mean, this kind of description is actually it is arguably it is described myself, like Noam David, but it's not true to the Neros. It's not true to the Neros because the Neros can transfer energy between, I mean, their relatives. And what is even a relative? So this was discussed in a video that I recorded not long ago, maybe just a week or 2 weeks ago. I don't remember the name of this video, but it discussed, like, I mean, it's a rare video in which I discussed, like, the issue of the Neros from, like, computer perspective, like, I mean, using data structures analysis. As I've said, I don't speak a lot about computer science, even though it's ironically, it's the only field, like, of which I have, like, an academic background. But I explained why I don't speak about it a lot, like just a couple of days ago. But in a relatively rare video from, like, a week or 2 weeks ago, I actually used the data structure modeling in order to speak about exactly these issues, like, of the relatives and the various chains. So I don't remember what was the name of this. Sorry, I don't remember the title. So maybe like a week ago, I mean, I spoke 2 weeks, I spoke about, like, these issues that, so I recommend this, like, I mean, but in general, I would say they can transfer between relatives, not like between, not everybody can, I mean, they don't have, like, a universal transfer mechanism, but I mean, to some extent, I mean, this actually, I mean, as I said, it described myself, like, I mean, as with this connection, you know, to the primordial Nero. also give like so many people ask, I mean, where do you get the energy from? So I mean, the son gets the energy from the father. Now, another issue that should be said, many people speak like, I mean, in YouTube, I mean, about like with regards to the Neros, with in like everything is metaphorical, so it's such a problem, you know. So many times you don't understand if the metaphor is used just, I mean, because that's how the people of the intelligence services like to speak, or because, I mean, they actually see that the metaphor is kind of like, I mean, hold water. So I mean, that they kind of like, I mean, equal things that you can speak about, like, you know, the object and the metaphor, or maybe it's like, I mean, that they actually think that this is the thing. That this is not just a metaphor, but it's actual thing. So many people speak about black holes, wormholes, dark matter, black hole, white holes, wormholes, and dark matter when they want to speak about the Neros. And I don't. I must admit, I do not understand if you use it as a metaphor or if you think that this is the real thing. And I don't have enough knowledge of physics to actually even evaluate such a thing. Like, I have no idea if like the Neros are in any way related to the concept of dark matter. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, if anyone has the kind of, I mean, thing that they can actually, because people see, sometimes people speak about dark matter with, I mean, and in videos that I understand that are, I mean, that are supposed to be related to the Nero phenomenon, but I don't understand the metaphor like here. But do you think that it's actually related to dark matter? If so, I mean, I would like to get explanation, but I have no way to evaluate such a claim. Same true to black and white holes. And regarding wormholes, I don't even know if such things are proven to exist in the world. Like, I mean, it's no issue from science fiction, and we see more. I mean, in front of our houses, I mean, portals exist, but portal and wormholes are not the same thing. I mean, wormhole is kind of like, I mean, it's a model of a portal, or a conceptualization of a portal with some kind of ground in very theoretical or speculative physics, but it's not the same thing, wormhole and portal. So when you speak about wormhole, I mean, you need to substantiate, I mean, what you actually speak about. Like, and to my knowledge, it's never proven to actually exist, and it's very theoretical. Like, so, I mean, I'm if you have any kind of like substance that you can like direct me to, like, use the rest for me to understand like the concept of wormhole, to even like to be able to evaluate the connection to the Neros, it will be interesting. Now, regarding black holes and white holes, I would suggest that this is purely metaphorical. Like, I don't see how in any way the Neros can be black holes or white holes. I mean, and also it should be said that, I mean, yes, there is, you know, in popular science, I mean, there is like an old school kind of like, I mean, associative connection between black holes and portals, but I would suggest that this is purely fictional. Like, I mean, like some people, I mean, you know, just, I mean, speculated that, I mean, black holes are kind of like, you enter like a black hole and you exit from another place. To my knowledge, this was always the kind of like, I mean, maybe at some point it was based on somewhat speculative physics that can be said to be, you know, border in the academic, you know, pursuit of physics, but to my knowledge, it was always completely hypothetical and never, I mean, substantiated in any, not only not in empirical evidence, but not even like matured to theory, to kind of like, I mean, grounded to, not even grounded, but I mean, just, I mean, a theory that can be placed as part of, like, in relation to other physics. I mean, no, like a piece of the puzzle of the model of the universe that can be fit to other, like, to the complete puzzle. I mean, not only not grounded in evidence, but not even like connected to other theories. It was just always like something like, you know, like a rogue theory that was like something floating like somewhere, that black holes can be portals. I mean, I don't even know it would, not only that it never had evidence, but it never even was connected to other parts of physics and cosmology, to my knowledge. So to say that these are black holes or white holes, from my perspective, it's kind of stupid, but maybe I'm wrong. So if you have any knowledge on the matter, please correct me. This is just as far as my knowledge goes. So that's all for now.